Hey, hello, everybody. I am Brian Baldinger, and this is the best football show. You can find this daily show by downloading your free Odyssey app and then liking it, subscribing to it, and following it. This is posted throughout social media as well. You can find me at Baldy NFL across all different platforms. I am on the third floor here at NFL Films in beautiful Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Nice spring day here. I am leaving in 20 minutes to go downstairs to interview the University of Texas cornerback Shadur Sanders, who is an elite prospect. Reminds me, honestly, a lot of Trent McDuffie. Maybe a little bit faster than Trent, but all the skills that McDuffie has that you've watched the last 2 years in Kansas City, Shadur has the same thing. All right, let's just get to the news of the day, because off the mean streets, that's right, the mean streets of Palm Beach, Florida, the owners have gathered, and they are discussing rules and rule changes and changes to the NFL. And one of them has been decided today on the Tush Push, which is basically no decision has been made. They've just tabled it. All the discussions that have kind of broken out of these breakout sessions, and some of it evidently getting heated between Sean McVay on one side, Nick Sirianni on the other, depending on what reporter you want to really believe. Not that they're disbelievable, but there's discussions about what the Tush Push should be. I saw where Lane Johnson tweeted something out. They're all haters. That's fine. Philadelphia had started the Tush Push 3 years ago under Nick Sirianni, and they have nearly perfected it. It's been a big part of their success over the last 3 years, including a Super Bowl win and a Super Bowl appearance where they lost to Kansas City. So that it's been tabled basically says it's going to be up for further discussion when the owners get together and the powers that be get together in May, so a couple months from now. My gut feeling is that they're going to try to tweak it in some way, which means they're going to change the language, which means it's going to make it more confusing. I have studied the NFL rulebook for almost all of my years, not just as a player, but as a broadcaster. And I started doing games at Fox in 1997. And I used to go to the NFL officials' meetings. And in Dallas every year, they had their annual meetings, 3 days. And I would sit in all of these different breakout sessions with the umpires, with the referees, side judges, you name it. And then we would always convene on the last day, and we would have about a 3-hour morning session called You Make the Call. And it was basically pass interference, illegal contact, all these different things that can happen with the balls in the air. And I can just tell you from personal experience that no matter how they try to define rules for pass interference or illegal contact, you could never get a consensus with all 135 officials. You could never get a consensus on anything on a Saturday morning in Dallas in a breakout session. It's just the game is difficult to officiate. And so the Tush Push is difficult to officiate. When does momentum stop? When do you blow the whistle dead? Like, I've talked to Mike Prayer, and I've talked to, different guys that are in that position at the NFL, and it's just difficult. You can put the word in to try to clean it up, to stop the push or whatever it is that you're trying to do. I've heard all of the rulings and all of the verbiage. When I watch the play, it's still difficult to officiate. But the Eagles also are much better at it than anybody else because they work at it more than anybody else, and they have far more examples of using it in games than anybody else. So, like, for example, one of the reasons why the Tush Push is up for abandonment is the NFC Championship game, where the Eagles were stepping on the throats of the Commanders, and they had a situation down near the goal line. And the Commanders must have committed 4 straight penalties in a row. Offsides, in the neutral zone, where the play just kept getting replayed. And it was ad nauseum. And then you see a guy who I really like as a player, and Frankie Louvu, who was a great addition to that defense, just coming flying over the top, trying to get to Jalen Hurts. Well, nobody jumping over the top is going to stop Jalen Hurts from going low behind, Mekhi Becton, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens. It's just not going to stop it going over the top. So it's kind of a silly play. But I've heard things where they're concerned about the injuries. Well, there hasn't been any injuries. Not one documented injury in 3 years of teams running the tush push. So you can say there's an injury concern. You can say an injury concern exists on every play in the NFL. It's a violent game. It's a game of collisions. But you can't just you just can't willy-nilly throw in, well, I'm worried about safety. Well, okay. You could say that about the kickoff return and say, okay, let's change the return. There's too many concussions. I get that. All right, let's review it. And they did. And they came up with a new format last year. So anyways, the tush push is tabled. Doesn't mean it's eliminated. It doesn't mean that it's coming back. It's going to be up for further discussion. Let's get to some of the other rules. For example, extended replay. All right, where, I don't know, there's certain plays, I guess, that could be replayed in New York, and you could get an immediate ruling. And because here's the problem with all of replay. Every play is replayed. So whether the officials get it right or they get it wrong, almost every play in some way, unless you're in a 2-minute drill and it's just up tempo, almost every play is replayed. So we've done this before with pass interference 3 years ago, where they replayed the pass interference penalties, and it was a disaster. So they did away with it because all it did was bring up more examples of, well, how do you officiate this play, and how do you get it right, and what is up for replay, and when do they get it right? We saw it in the Super Bowl on the opening drive of the game, where A.J. Brown pushed off on the cornerback on Washington, and there was offensive pass interference. There wasn't, whether it was Troy Aikman or Mike Pereira or anybody else, didn't think it was worthy of pass interference. Now, is that going to be replayed? I hope not. But there are certain calls, lining up in the neutral zone can be seen in New York in their control room pretty easily. Maybe they could just get that one right, pick up the flag, some certain things like that. I'm not against that. If you can fix things in real time without taking away from the game, where you get an ad nauseum replay just over and over and over again, if they can eliminate that, I'm a fan of it. I'm a fan. Because we can no longer just turn a blind eye to plays that are officiated wrongly, but we can see it with our own eyes in replay that the call should have been changed. But at what point do we go, this is enough? It's just disruptive to the flow of any game. And that's my concern. The other rule is the kickoff rule, which is they want the kickoff in the game. I get that. They don't want the concussions. So now we have this condensed, area where the kickoff coverage team and the kickoff return team meet in a 10-yard window. And the idea that if you kick the ball into the end zone and eliminate the replay, the ball could come out to the 35-yard line, I'm not a fan. Like, you can still do this, just move the kickoff back and put the ball in play. You get a whole lot more. But and then the idea that maybe the touchback could go to the 40 is absurd. Like, every defensive coordinator is going to have a heart attack. They just are. You can put your defense out there and start at the 40-yard line. I mean, one first down, you're already in field goal range practically. So I'm very, very concerned about that. I do think, I'm just talking to a guy like Darren Rizzi, who was the special teams coach in New Orleans last year, eventually the interim head coach. Talking to special team coaches like that, Darren liked putting the ball in play last year and covering the kick. And I'm a fan of that. Now, I know you can give up big plays. I understand that. I know that you can get called for holding calls and get yourself backed up, and nobody wants that. But as a kickoff coverage team, I think kickoff coverage is an extension of your defense and how you play defense. Let me go cover a kick. That's what I want to see. All right, so that's that. And then the last one here is I think that's it for the rules for right now. In the overtime rules. Look, I'm a fan of keeping rules consistent, regular season, postseason. Like, I'm not a fan of a team getting the ball on a coin flip in overtime. Okay, you go down and score a touchdown. Game over. I'm not a fan of that. I think the other team should have a chance to possess the ball, and not just in a postseason. Now, I know the answer in the reply is, well, stop them from scoring. All right. Well, sometimes, your defense is banged up. Sometimes the offense has your number. You lose the coin toss, team goes down and scores over. Like, I still see that playoff game with Josh Allen sitting on the bench without the chance to basically come back at Patrick Mahomes, what the Chiefs did. Game over. 42-36. Lose the game in overtime. They changed the overtime rule for it because of that. But I think they should make the rules uniform. And if you're going to say in the postseason that if a team wins the toss, goes down, scores a touchdown, the opposition gets a chance to match that score, then I think they should be able to do it. I am going downstairs to interview Jahdae Barron right now. This is a fabulous prospect at the University of Texas. Can play in the slot, can play out wide. My comp is simply Trent McDuffie. Nearly the same size, nearly the same type of ball skills. From Trent came out of the University of Washington, Barron's coming out of the University of Texas. They can play inside, they can play outside. Jahdae is a little faster in a 40 time. He ran a 4.39. Had a very fast 1.52 10-yard split, and you can see his suddenness onto the ball. That's that. Let's see. What else do I want to say here today on the Best Football Show? I am headed to Boulder, Colorado on Thursday afternoon. Hope to go over to the football office on Thursday. Friday is Colorado's pro day. I spent the morning watching every single pass from Shadur Sanders that went 20 yards or more in the air. A lot of incompletions, a lot of big-time throws to a whole, LaJohntay Wester, Jimmy Johns, like all the guys that are, and obviously Travis Hunter. He has, in my estimation, after watching every throw the last 2 years at Colorado, over 20 yards, he has amazing deep ball accuracy. He gives his receivers a chance to catch the ball. He is not, even when he's getting hit, thrown from a dirty pocket, getting flushed. A lot of teams went blitz zero on him, knowing that let's get Shadur on the move, let's get him throwing it. He has amazing deep ball accuracy. I'll say that. I'm anxious to go watch him throw to the list of receivers that he has. In fact, here they are. I'll make sure. LaJohntay Wester, Jimmy Horn Jr., Will Shepard, a bunch of guys will all be out there catching. But Travis Hunter is a star. And so I still don't know if he's your starting corner or starting receiver and then playing a package on the other side. I feel like he's your starting corner and he's your receiver in certain situations. I feel like that's his role at this point right now. But I hold judgment. I want to go talk to him. I know he loves football. I'm anxious to talk to Prime about him and everybody else there about his skill set. But this is going to be fascinating because Shadur can either be the first or second pick, depending on what Tennessee does with Cam Ward. I'm sure Tennessee is going to be out in Boulder, Colorado on Friday, watching every throw of Shadur, watching how he conducts this show. It's going to be a show. I mean, you're throwing it to maybe the best athlete in the draft in Travis Hunter. This is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to being out there. And really, is Shadur worthy of the second pick if Cam goes 1? Is he worthy of being Cleveland's second pick? Is he worthy of the Giants if they're picking 3rd? Is he worthy of a team trading up to go get him? Pittsburgh, anybody. Like, I'm anxious to see what this pro day does, because everybody that I knew that went to Mississippi's pro day last week, which was last Friday, they said Jackson Dart helped himself. So I think Shadur can help himself. Even though he might not need it, he's got 3 years of really good tape at Jackson State and Colorado. But I'm anxious to see it for myself. I thought Cam Ward's pro day was excellent. You could see the velocity he gets on the ball, the torque that he gets. You can see how he mingled with the crowd, the personnel people, the NFL teams. I'm anxious to see how Shadur does in that compartment as well. Anyways, that's been the Best Football Show. Look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Hopefully we have some more news and whatever that is. And I'll be back here tomorrow to tell you all about it. Thanks for joining me and joining the Best Football Show.